first college athlete that I've had on this podcast. I feel like this was the perfect college athlete to have.
Sports has definitely taught me how to communicate with people. Sometimes you have to pull things out of people.
How has NIL helped impact your business?
NIL.
Welcome to another edition of the Athlete's Wisdom Podcast, here where we will teach you how to build a business as a college athlete and also how to grow your marketing and your branding as well. So today we actually have an amazing guest. This is actually the first college athlete that I've had on this podcast, and this is Gabby Anderson. And I feel like this was the perfect college athlete to have, right? Because not only is she a black college athlete, right? She plays at Harvard, which I find absolutely amazing. So welcome, Gabby Anderson. How you doing today?
I am doing wonderful. Happy to be here. I did not know I was your first college athlete. That's amazing.
Yes. I had a lot of business professionals. I've had a lot of younger athletes, but you're at my actual first college athlete. So congratulations.
Thank you.
And thank you.
Of course.
So for the audience who isn't familiar with you, right, can you just kind of give like a quick background of who Gabby Anderson is, where you came from, where you are now, and kind of how your journey has been?
Okay, I feel like who Gabby Anderson is a loaded question. I do a lot of things.
Hey, that's a good thing, though.
It really is. I'm very happy to be 19. I own my own small business called Graffiti by Gabby. I do customized art. I started that over COVID, and it's kind of taken off. I've done shoes for lots of really amazing people. I've done shoes for Sue Bird. I've done shoes for...
Sue Bird?
Yeah, I did shoes for Sue Bird. It was very early on, actually. Yeah, so I make shoes for professional athletes everywhere, and it's really a passion that I kind of started just over COVID because I was bored, and it blew up in my face, and it's been absolutely amazing. I play at Harvard, as you know. That's a new thing. I just finished my first year, and I can say that I really do love it. Love my school. I'm an athlete. I play basketball. I played basketball since first grade. What else is about me?
I don't know. Like I said, I know you said earlier it's a loaded question, and I can extract more out you as we go along, but I just kind of want the audience to kind of get more of a feel of who you are. So where are you from? Were you born, or where did you reside, or where did you, because I know some people hop around a lot as well.
I do. We have moved a lot. So currently I reside in Columbus, Ohio, but originally I'm from Arkansas, and a lot of people don't know that, but I got my cowgirl boots on.
I saw.
I got a little bit of Southern charm. I really like it. Yeah, but I went to school at IMG Academy for my last 2 years of high school. So yeah, a little bit of Florida too.
You went to that school.
Oh yeah. Now IMG was an experience. Absolutely loved it.
I feel like that's a perfect segue to start at. What about IMG made it a nice experience for you? Because I've always heard of IMG as like the powerhouse football school. Like I've seen a picture of their stadium. Their football stadium is a professional looking stadium. Like it is ridiculously big. I can already tell so much money was poured into that. So how was that overall experience for you?
Yeah, IMG was a very unexpected experience. So it actually happened over COVID because the school I was going to in Columbus, actually they were online, and I was struggling with online school, and I needed somewhere else that was offline. And it just so happened that my mom knew somebody who knew the coach at IMG, and I went on a visit, and I was like, this is amazing. Why wouldn't I go here? Like, you have to take the chance for this opportunity. So I ended up going, and it was actually completely different than I thought, because a lot of people, when you think IMG, of course you're going to think football, you're going to think amazing athletes, and then a lot of people think like rich, famous people who go there oftentimes. It's very laid back in my opinion. It's hit or miss. So when you go to IMG, you are left to your own devices. So you're on campus, and you stay there, you live by yourself. It's basically the college experience in high school.
Oh, it's a boarding school?
Oh, it's a boarding school, yeah.
Oh.
I mean, it's from like middle school up. And so there's some really young kids there. And it can really make or break you because, as I said, you are left to your own devices. And what made it so amazing for me is my coach, actually, Coach Shell Daly. She is amazing. Look her up. Her repertoire is absolutely ridiculous. Like, she is an amazing woman. And she kind of just built me up in the way that I found a new confidence in basketball, because I played soccer and basketball for a long time. And I thought I was going to be a soccer player for the longest time.
For real?
Oh, yeah. I was deep into soccer. And so that's what I thought I was going to do. And eventually I ended up choosing basketball. So I was a little bit behind because I had poured so much energy into soccer. And I don't know, when you play on top AAU teams, you're in the Nike EYBL and all those things, like you kind of start to look at like stats and how much you're scoring. And I'm not the highest scorer, but I do love defense. And that's one thing a lot of people don't take pride in that I do. So it was really finding my confidence in my sport and being able to be on my own and do things for myself that IMG really taught me be my own person. And I think that's why I loved it so much. And the people are amazing. Shout out my IMG girlies. I love them.
I like it. I like it. So how's IMG's basketball program? Because like I said, and like you said, they're known for football and yes, maybe they're sports, but they don't really talk about, or at least I don't see a lot about a lot of the other sports programs that they have.
Listen, IMG is actually really known in the tennis world. So we have, we are amazing at all sports. IMG has so many sports that you might not have heard about, but they're definitely on the map. So they just built a new basketball arena and it's gorgeous. If you thought the stadium was cool, go see the arena because it's real nice.
I feel like I want to look it up on Google now.
It's real nice if you get to see it. The basketball program is great. It's tough. It's definitely tough. I've had my hardest practices at IMG. They are really going to push you. They're really going to push you. Lots of practices where all we did was run. And so,
That's why I didn't play basketball.
No, it's not that bad though, because at the end of the day, you get a lot out of it and you grow as a player as long as you're putting in that extra work.
So what are some fundamentals you've learned just in sports, right? Whether that's through playing it at a young age, playing it at IMG Academy, or even now playing at Harvard. What are some of the fundamentals in sports that have helped transition you into like the business aspect, right? Because I know you said you have Graffiti by Gabby. So how have some of those things kind of combined?
Sports has definitely taught me how to communicate with people, and not just in like, hey, talking, having conversation. I mean, really connecting with people and understanding that everyone functions differently. So you have to talk to people differently. Like sometimes I have a teammate that might be softer and she doesn't like to be yelled at and she doesn't take criticism well. And so oftentimes I've learned that you have to communicate with people in different styles. And I think that's really helped me, especially because I do own my own business and I do work with people, and I am an athlete who's looking for NIL and have to talk to different businesses. So it's really nice to just understand that I know how to talk to people and communicate, and I can connect with everyone at different levels. And it's also helped me as I customize shoes, because when I'm making a custom design, sometimes you have to pull things out of people and you got to figure out like what makes them click, what is their thing, what is something that they need on this shoe that really represents them.
Okay, I like that. So throughout your NIL journey, how has that helped you in your business? Because I know you said you started Graffiti by Gabby before. You say you started in COVID and you were still in high school at that point, correct?
Yeah.
And now that you're in college, right, how is the NIL and just understanding that? And I'm sure this kind of helped you understand more of the business side of things. How has NIL helped impact your business?
NIL has been absolutely amazing for me. It's helped me pay my college tuition. And actually, I do a lot of things that are combined with my NIL and my business. So I'm very lucky in that I have something extra going on outside of my sport. So a lot of times when I do brand deals, I like to include some shoes I've done or include something about my business or art. And I think that's really helped me and progressed me. And just talking to these different businesses. So I ended up doing a project with Walmart through my business that led to NIL opportunities. And it's helped me as I've grown and continue to do business. So it's a lot of times more connections. And NIL has taught me how to make content. Content is actually a super hard thing to do and understand. Understand how to, as you know, I mean, you're doing this podcast and you got to see what clicks with people. And I think NIL has taught me that, and it's great for businesses.
So kind of expound a bit more on your partnership with Walmart and how that was able to come into fruition and get you more NIL deals.
So last summer, I did a partnership with Walmart, and I basically just created end caps for Juneteenth. They had all these Black beauty brands, and I created self-portraits of all the founders, and they put it on an end cap. And they actually ended up putting my face on there, which I was amazed because my face was in Walmart. Like, it was over 10,000 stores or something like that. And I was like, oh my God. I ended up like doing a video because I traveled to different states to see if my face was in Walmart. And it was really fun and super exciting. How that came about, my mom actually knows one of the ladies who assigned me to the project. They're trying to do something new, something creative, because, you know, after the whole Black Lives Matter movement over like COVID, they were trying to move out towards. Yeah, they're trying to support more Black owned businesses and things of that nature. And I got the deal, and I was super happy to have the deal, because if you don't know, like, these founders, I know these ladies. I followed their brands. These are powerful women. These are powerful men. These are powerful people, Black people, who are definitely representative of our community. And I was just happy to be a part of the program.
I like that. And with it being able to help you gain more NIL opportunities, how did that come into fruition as well? Was it because of the extra notoriety, or was it because of the work that you were doing, or maybe even more connections that you were able to have? How did that happen?
All three. I mean, my face was in Walmart. Some people saw it. Some people reached out, and it was just letting people know, like when you reach out to brands or you're trying to work on something, or even when you're brokering for more money with companies, it's great to say, hey, I worked with Walmart. Like, this is what I did with Walmart. This is how much they paid me. Let me do this for your brand. And this is how we can elevate your brand through that. So Walmart definitely was just a big staple. One of my favorite projects, one of the biggest projects I've done. So.
So how many NIL opportunities have you had since you've essentially started NIL?
Ooh, you know what? That's kind of a hard question. As I said, my business and NIL get kind of like mixed together. I don't know. I started NIL kind of early, so I couldn't officially start until after I finished my last basketball game of high school. And so I ended up signing with WME, William & Morris in sports. And my agent actually helped me out a lot, and they bring me lots of different brand deals and things of that nature. And it's kind of just been free flow, and I couldn't tell you how many I've actually done. I wish I knew.
Hey, that's a good problem to have.
Right.
So how important has partnering with the agency and having an agent been to your success in NIL? And how can some of the college athletes now possibly start getting some NIL deals of their own?
My agent kind of came about, again, because I went to IMG Academy, and William & Morris actually owned IMG before. They just sold it for a lot of money. A lot
a couple billion, actually. Yeah, I recently saw that.
You saw that?
Yeah.
Crazy numbers.
I didn't even know it was a boarding school, so that makes a lot more sense now, seeing that, because that's a whole different story.
Money house. But yeah, so I was very fortunate to get my agent in that I didn't have to go out and find them. They kind of found me because they came to campus, and I ended up just talking to them and asking them, like, hey, what do you know about this NIL stuff? And they were like, we've seen what you're doing. We think we can elevate you. Let's talk about signing you up with an agent. And I love my agent. Shout out Cecil White. He's amazing. He is my money man, is what I call him. He's great. So before I was doing, like, I would just go on to different shows and different interviews for free. And I would just be like, oh, I love, like, how I'm doing this right now. I just love talking to people, and I love getting myself out there, and I don't mind doing it. But then he came along, he was like, no, know your self-worth. And it was really helpful, because then my price rose. And I didn't even know, like, someone who's going to hold you accountable to make sure you're doing the right content and for the right price. And I really would encourage people, like, if you have the opportunity, you have to get the agent that fits with you. Cecil was wonderful for me, but that he might not be wonderful for someone else.
Exactly.
Even though he's pretty great. I mean, he might be wonderful for everybody. But it's really about your agency fitting with you, so that way they can elevate you from there.
Okay. So I know some schools have NIL collectives and have resources and tools on campus to help students with NIL. Does Harvard have something like that?
Unfortunately, Harvard does not have any NIL resources at the moment. They're working on the come up. We're still baby NIL. I mean, it just got into a loophole. And then if you didn't know, Ivy has different rules when it comes to different athletic things. And so
because they're private institutions, right?
Yep, they're private institutions. They're their own Ivy League. I mean, they have this big name to uphold. So they're very careful with it. But I have seen that they are trying to move forward. But if you do go to a school that has NIL opportunities, take advantage. I wish Harvard had something huge, because we have some amazing athletes who make content on their own, but having something collective, that's where you get the big brands. I was just at the NIL summit this weekend, and they were talking about how much teams can make through team collectives. And I was like, this is crazy. This is just money we're missing out on.
What was the number that they kind of threw out there?
Oh, it's big. It was like a few thousand per player.
And that can be each semester. That can be just from one source.
Deal. Yes.
That can be from one appearance. They can do, that maybe that same company can do another appearance if they like you and pay you even more. So, and I feel it's amazing that not only for one, right, I'm going to keep highlighting this, that you're a black woman at Harvard. That's amazing in itself. But the fact that not only are you a black woman at Harvard, but they don't have a lot of NIL resources and tools to help you all along that journey, but you've been still able to shine bright through all of this, get multiple NIL deals. And I feel like for the people that are watching, crucial part of what you should pay attention to, just from what I've observed so far, is how willing you are to go reach out to somebody rather than expecting it to come to you. Or because I feel like it's possible that some of these athletes, they look at this NIL space and we all see the big names like Bronny James and Haley Van Lith. It's somebody, she goes to LSU, but she's a gymnast, but she has the second highest NIL evaluation. I can't remember her name.
Olivia Doon?
Yes.
Olivia Doon, yeah.
But it's like, and we see people like these, right? And we're like, okay, well, they're making millions. We see the big name people and we're like, well, I can't make that, or you think you can't make that, which in all actuality, maybe you can't make the $7 million evaluation that LeBron James Jr. has. But if you're still able to get $10, $15, $20, $100,000 just from what you have, that's still something that is very feasible to you. And just from some of the research I've done as well in the NIL space, I've realized that the average NIL deal was about $3,500 at the time, anywhere from $3,000 to $5,000. But that's for every deal. A lot of the deals that are given are local businesses, right? So it doesn't have to be a Nike, a Gatorade, a StockX, a Walmart, a big name brand. There are a lot of local businesses and brands in your community and just in your general surroundings that are still willing to pay NIL. I know you said Walmart was one of your favorite, but besides Walmart, what's one of the other NIL opportunities you had that was really special for you?
I recently did some work with Snapchat, and it was really just to promote some of the new features they had, and I actually really enjoyed that. So I met this lady over an event I did just with WME, and she invited me to join this Snapchat collective, and it was really great just because I was posting whatever I want to post, and it was fun, and I made a decent amount of money. I actually paid my first round of tuition for that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. NIL is very amazing. I think there's a huge stigma around NIL. As you said, some people think, oh, I'm not going to make that money. Or some people might think, oh, I'm not good enough at my sport to be making NIL money. And it's not about that. It's about how people connect to you and how people think about you. So you can have an influence without being amazing at your sport, because sometimes you're just a good person. And it's okay to just be a good person, because brands still are going to promote that.
Exactly. It's that no like trust factor, right? The people who make the most are generally the ones who have the largest brand. There are people who have extremely good talent, a high level of talent in their sport, but they just simply don't have the necessary branding that goes along with it. And then there are people who are vice versa as well. You have people who have all the amazing branding aspects. They know how to brand themselves. They're a great person, that no like trust factor, right? But they're not the one that's leading their team in the points or leading their team in rebounds or assists or steals or whatever the case is, right? So I feel like that just goes down to really show that more than anything, these businesses want a brand, right? They want something that people resonate with, right? I mean, think about it. All these famous people on TikTok and Instagram or whatnot, right? They make their money because they're engaging with their audience. Their audiences they love who they are, right? So it's not really about the actual, numbers you're putting on the court. It's more so the numbers you're putting up on social media and the numbers that you're putting up with your engagement. So how has your followers and how has your fan base kind of been supportive and reactive of some of the things you've been doing through NIL?
I have found my fan base largely consists of people who just know me, people I've met. I love to talk to people. So if you don't know, I talk a whole lot. My name is Gabby, by the way. And so it's mostly just I meet people and I talk to them and they follow me and they follow my content. So that is a really big thing. Having people who are consistently going to keep up with your stuff and follow you. Those are the fans you need. Those are the fans who are going to get your engagement and further grow your platform. Yeah. And so it's nice in that way, but I don't have that many followers. I have about 4,000 something on Instagram, and all my other platforms are less than that. And if you look at a lot of other people, I mean, they have thousands and thousands of followers, maybe millions of followers, and people are like, oh, those are the people who are working with brands. But I mean, I work with brands too, and I have a small following, but it's more just about, as I said, engagement and your brand and things of that nature. So it's grown.
See, I know people who have, say, 4,000 followers that make a very large amount of money, and then people who have 20,000 followers who don't make as much money as the person that has 4,000 followers, right? And to even be more specific, both of these people essentially make their money using their page and their brand, right? So it's all about, like I said, the engagement. If you have 20,000 people who follow you, but you only have a 1% engagement rate, right? Which basically means you only have, 200 people that really engage? That's not that much, right? On a consistent basis, rather than somebody who has 4,000 followers, but they have, say, a 10% engagement rate, right? Now that's 400 people. That person technically has double the amount of people engaging rather than the person that has 20,000 followers. And not only are they engaging, they're engaging a lot. They're not only commenting, they're liking, they're making sure they put post notifications on or whatever the case is, right? So I just wanted to kind of say that the biggest way to make money in NIL is to use your NIL. your name, your image, and your likeness. It's not about the skills on and off the court, although that does play a part depending on what school you're going to. But it really just comes down to how you are as a person. So I wanted to pivot a little bit to the NIL Summit and just kind of ask you, for one, like, how was that? And what was one of like your most memorable experiences of it?
It was amazing, actually. So this was my first year attending. I got invited because I did the Meta Empower 2.0 program. And they kind of just invited me, and they said I was the first person to email them when they were like, oh, you're all invited. I was like, okay, when can I go? When can I sign up? I mean, I saw it last year. I had some friends go. I'm pretty young. Most of the time schools send their older kids just because, I mean, they're leaving their space. It might be their last years to really get a hold of the NIL. But Harvard doesn't send anyone. I was the only person from Harvard there.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah. No, Harvard hasn't sent anybody these past couple of years. And so I was really excited for the opportunity. And I learned so much just by connecting with people. It was amazing people in the room. There was brands, there were athletes. I mean, there was collaborations. So it was nice. I just got to talk to people, hang out, make connections, probably have some different programs and things going on later that I'll do. It was wonderful. I learned a lot.
So what would you say is was the one thing that you took away from that entire event that really stuck with you?
Talk to people, like reach out, like actively going to someone, be like, hi, my name is Gabby Anderson. I go to Harvard. I play basketball. This is what I have to offer. That was my pitch almost all weekend. And it helped me a lot because, again, I would be walking with a friend or someone and know them. And I would get to talk to different brands and they didn't, specifically because I was like, oh, you work for Huddle? I'm going to talk to you. Or, oh, you work for Instagram? You need to know who I am because this is something I want to do. Actively advocating for yourself was something that was really big this weekend.
And I'm glad that you say that because coming from a male's perspective, right? A lot of people, especially because I'm from Atlanta, people, as I've gotten into the business space, I realized they don't necessarily like to network, or they're afraid to network, or they think somebody's going to say no or reject them. And from a male's perspective, I know that comes from, attempting to talk to women, and a lot of guys, the way they start a conversation is it's off to begin with, and that's a different conversation, but they're used to essentially like the rejection aspect and getting turned down, and I'm sure for women, I'm sure there's some level of truth into that as well, whether it's to talking to men or just approaching things in business in general. They feel as if they're going to get rejected, right? And one thing I've learned is when it comes to networking, especially when you're in events, when you're in some of these rooms, 9 times out of 10, everybody in there is willing to talk to you.
Most definitely. They're all there for the same reason.
Exactly. This isn't a party. It's not a club. It's not, a winner take all. It's not a competition, right? Like, it's collaboration over competition, right? If you really think about some of the biggest brands in the world, they collaborate with other brands. They collaborate, whether it's a larger brand or smaller brand, right? Amazon is a perfect example. Amazon doesn't ship or even house a lot of the products that they have. Now, obviously, they have all these warehouses everywhere, but they use a lot of small-time business owners to sell their products. And that's a perfect example to show that the biggest company in the world partners basically with the people who's purchasing its products to sell its products, right? So when it comes down to networking, right, talk to whoever, because you never know what partnership that can turn to. You never know what collaboration that can turn to. And it doesn't even have to turn into something immediately. It can be a week from now, a month from now, a year, 2, 3, 5 years from now, right? But it's all about building that relationship to begin with, because you never know where that other person's eventually be going. You might surprise yourself on where you end up going and things of that nature. So how many people did you know before going to the NIL Summit? Now, that doesn't necessarily mean you met them before, but like you knew of them, you talked on social media maybe, or things like that.
So I knew all the girls from the Empower Summit just because we were on calls together. We connected, tried to collab with each other. I knew the Meta people because they ran the summit. And then I had a friend, Layla Philia from Michigan. I knew her. Other than that, I've heard...
She's the one who plays basketball, right?
Yeah, she plays basketball too, yeah. I heard of a lot of the people who won awards, but outside of that, I didn't necessarily know them because schools get to choose who they send. It was really hit or miss with a lot of people, but they were actually really cool. I was surprised at how many friends I actually ended up making because a lot of people are like, I have no idea who you are. You have no idea who I am. I haven't even seen you on socials. Exactly. And it was nice to talk to people in person.
I like that. People really undervalue just the human aspect of it, especially since COVID.
I mean, I don't know about everybody else, but I was inside at home during COVID, I was like, I'm tired of texting y'all. Can somebody come see me? I don't want to FaceTime.
Exactly. I don't want to FaceTime. I'm tired of talking on the
No.
phone. Like, we can even stand across the street from each other. Yeah,
Like, you take your 6 feet and we'll just talk from here. Like,
exactly. That human connection. And that's why, like, even when I do my podcast, right? Like, although if time didn't work out well for us and we ended up doing a podcast virtually, which still would have been amazing, it still wouldn't have had the same effect as having an in-person podcast, right? Like, there's just like a certain transference of energy and just being able to understand somebody on a better level when you're speaking to them in person rather than speaking to them through an electronic device. So what are your next steps in NIL? Because I know NIL is changing. So there's always things that are here and then go away, things that weren't here and came into play. So what's your next steps through NIL and what's your goal for the next year in doing so?
I was thinking about this at the summit because there was a panel at the end and they were talking about how to promote yourself for the future and asking you, what are you going to do with your NIL? Mm-hmm. And I was really thinking about this because, I mean, at times you're thinking, oh, I really just want to make as much money as possible. But I want to do more than that. I mean, the space is so new that you can be a breakout creator. And so I am looking to do something big. I really want to create my own NIL space. So I want to have my own saying. So when you see Gabby Anderson, I want them to think, oh, she's the one that does this, something very specific. Mm-hmm. So I just started a school supply line called Brilliant, Authentic, and Black. And it's surrounded by really supporting the youth and letting them know that it is okay to be all three, brilliant, authentic, and Black. Mm-hmm. I know sometimes I enter a room and there are spaces where it's okay to be authentic and Black, but they might not think you're so brilliant. Mm-hmm. And then sometimes it's okay to be brilliant and authentic, but it's not okay to be Black. And I have learned that, especially being in all these different spaces and going to all these different places. Mm-hmm. And I really just want kids to know that it is okay to be authentically you, because when you are all three, brilliant, authentic, and Black, and anything else you want to be, that is how you survive. That is how you keep going. That is how you elevate. Because if you're not comfortable with all three, even though you are all three, that is how you get hindered. And that is how people hold you back from where you should be going.
And how have you used that philosophy going to Harvard?
Oh, I have used that philosophy all the time. So Harvard actually has a really good Black community, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. But sometimes, you know, a lot of people talk about having imposter syndrome when you get to Harvard, just because there are all these amazing people. And when you think Harvard, you think, oh, the brightest minds in the world. And sometimes you don't always feel that. And me personally, I'm like, listen, I have something to offer. Like, I understand I'm smart. Mm-hmm. I might be a different kind of smart than this person, but I'm still smart. Mm-hmm. And I love being Black because that is authentically me. Like, I love my hair. I love my skin color. Mm-hmm. And it is something I've really had to learn and accept, that it is okay to be fully me, because when you're fully yourself, that's how people notice you.
I like that. So I kind of want to circle around a bit to when you talk about you want to create your own NIL platform and space. Do you see that just being something that Black athletes can take advantage of, or will it grow into more?
Oh, it's definitely going to grow into more. I plan on having it available for everyone, because everyone has their special thing. I mean, there's a lot of minorities out there, and I want to support them all.
I like that. What do you go to school for?
Oh, currently I'm concentrating in economics. But if you ask me why I go to school, it's because there's a lot of knowledge to learn, especially when it comes to business and things. Mm-hmm. I mean, I feel like I'm a baby entrepreneur. I have so much more to learn, and that is my intention when I go to school.
I like that. Now, I can already tell that you have a creative side to you, just from your style, just from obviously your business and Graffiti by Gabby. So how has your style played a part in your brand? And then how has it played a part in you creating content? And then just like, how has that content journey been in general as well?
I do. I think, okay, so funny thing, when I was younger, I used to wear some crazy clothes. Mm-hmm. I matched all kinds of patterns. I'm talking about zebra with the pink stripes and the rainbow sneakers. I mean, I thought I was so fly. I kid you not, I'd step out every day like, yeah, I'm going to take a pic of this fit. I look good. And
like JoJo Siwa?
Oh, worse. I was worse. Oh yeah, the patterns, the colors, nothing matched. It was out there. But no, I've always had my own style, and I really bring that into art. So I love colors. Mm-hmm. I love colors. I got my pink shiny boots on. Mm-hmm. I love a good pop of color, and so I really like to incorporate that anytime I do art. So in any shoe I do or any painting I do, I'm trying to add as much color as possible. Yes, if you give me a dull color scheme, I'll be like, okay, I'm gonna do it. But like, maybe you want to add a splash of this in there, a splash of that. Like, that's how I really feel like it's me. And that has helped me, especially in creating content, because I know that I like fun things. I like to talk. I like to dance. I would probably dance in every video you see on my Instagram. And I love music. I just love to be me and have my own style. And I think that's okay. I think that's how you stand out. Again, that goes back to being authentically you.
When it comes to your art, right, have you ever thought about creating, say, an NFT project and maybe creating it and sharing it with the athletic community to be able to get first access to?
I have thought about that. So NFTs, my problem with NFTs is I don't know much about it. It's a very new thing. And I'm kind of up in the air about it because I feel like there has been some great success with it, but I'm still trying to figure out how it works. I don't want to just jump into something without knowing how it fully works. I don't want to mess it up, especially if it's my first time. I want to make sure it's right, and I want to make sure what I'm putting out there represents me.
I agree with that, but I will say just one thing I've learned from doing business is it's okay to mess up, especially when you're first starting off. You might have a plan on how it's supposed to be when you first start, right? Like, I'm a perfectionist, so like I want to start things and do them and finish them perfectly, but oftentimes it doesn't really happen like that in business. So just starting to begin with is already going to help you just kind of start learning more. And then obviously just finding the right people, building the right team around you, because I know you said something earlier in podcast where you said you do a lot of these things by yourself, essentially. Being a student athlete, being a student, and then being a business owner, and then I'm still sure you have other hobbies and then other passions that you do. All of that is extremely time consuming. And then you're traveling to events like the NIL Summit. And so I know that obviously you can't make more time. Oftentimes people try to figure out how can they do everything and how can they fit it in this and how can I do all this, but it's really who, not how. It's not how can I do all this, it's who can I find to do it for me or help me along in the process so that I'm able to get more of my time back and then utilize that time in the things that I'm most passionate about, the things that make me the most money, the things that are most important. So your content creation journey, right? Like, how has that been overall for you? Because I know you said you dance in a lot of videos, and I know that depending on your audience, depending on how it is, dancing is a very good way to grab somebody's attention. But in the NIL space, how has this content creation been for you, and what are some of the pros and cons of doing that?
My content has grown a lot from when I first started. So I think it can be hard to really put yourself out there and be authentically you, especially when it comes to posting on Instagram, because at first I was like, my Instagram is just for me to post cute pictures. Like, I have a cute outfit on, like that's what I'm posting, or like, oh, I took my basketball pics, like this is what this is for, but that's not necessarily it. Like, it's okay to share your personality on these different platforms. And I think TikTok actually was the one that really helped me with that, because TikTok was just for fun. No one really took it seriously at first, which is, in my opinion, why the platform grew so large, because everyone was just on there having fun.
Especially during the height of COVID, too.
During COVID, everyone was just like, oh, I'm going to do the trend. Everyone was just being silly with it. I mean, adults, young people, it was just everywhere. And then eventually I ended up taking that personality and I was like, oh, I can apply this to Instagram too, because TikTok was like fun and I was having fun with it. And I was like, my mom was like, why don't you ever post on Instagram like this? And I'm like, because Instagram's not that platform. Like, why would I do that?
They came that platform very quickly because of TikTok, though.
Yes, because the Instagram had to end up making the reels. And I was like, okay, so this is something I should be doing and showing just who I am. And then the thing I did with Snapchat, I also saw that I was posting things and it was just my everyday life. And I was like, oh, this is fun. And then I would get like my friends to slide up and be like, oh my God, you're so funny. I love this content. I'm like, this is the content I should be sharing. Like, just be yourself and share whatever you want to share.
Exactly. So content for everyone will always be different. But if there's one piece of advice I can give people when it comes to creating content, this is from a lot of trial and error for me. This is from being in spaces where I'm around a lot of business owners who make a lot of content. People always say you got to niche down. You want to niche down, but you still want to be, like you said earlier, true to who you are and be free with it, right? You don't want to niche down to the point in which, and I've made this mistake, where you're only talking about one particular thing and then you're only talking about it one kind of way, because then your content gets boring. And that's what happened with my page, right? Your audience, your engagement will kind of dip down. And obviously the people who still rock with you will still rock with you, but after a while, right, like they don't always want to keep seeing the same thing as well, right? So yes, post the silly fun things, right? But also show who you are as a personality. And this goes back to that know, like, trust factor I was saying earlier. every successful brand has a successful know, like, trust factor. They have to first know who you are, right? They got to be exposed to you. Then from there, they start liking you by the things you post, right? Like knowing more of your personality. The most successful online businesses, right, that aren't major conglomerate companies are people who show their personality in what they post as well. So they know you, then they start to like you because of that. And then now they trust you as far as any products that you sell for yourself or any other products or services that you end up partnering with or collaborations of that matter. So how has building your know, like, trust factor and creating that type of, lifestyle content really played to your advantage on back to the NIL side, right? Because I know we've talked about how you've been able to, do partnerships with Walmart and how your school has been able to, some of the things you've been able to do at your school and IMG Academy has helped propel your NIL. But how has the content creation helped propel it in its own right?
My own content. So actually, this is kind of funny. So I do not like taking videos when I am painting. And it's kind of weird. I mean, someone who creates custom art, you think I would have more videos of me doing art, but I found it's a very private space. And I feel like I don't record a lot of my life. Like sometimes I'll do something really fun. I didn't record it. I'm like, oh, that probably would have been great content. But like, I'm a live in the moment type of person.
Exactly.
Like I really want to enjoy this for myself. And I think that's okay. But when it comes to creating content, I mean, nobody should be the same. So I know it's great to get a trend out every once in a while. But if you're going to make content, just do whatever you want to do and make sure it's fun. And always goes back to the authentic part of yourself. Personally, content and NIL, I think mine has definitely helped me just because I'm a very lively person. I've been told a lot that like my videos are very lively. Just give as much personality as possible. But I just think that's how you keep it fun. Keep it fun, keep it simple, be real. I think that's something that has been really helpful for me personally because I'm always going to give you me. I'm not going to give you anything fake. Like I'm not going to edit this picture or I'm not going to like I'll snip the video together, but I'm not going to give you anything fake or like I'm not going to stage it like some ridiculous way. Like, no, I'm just going to pull out my phone and record it and then whatever comes out, comes out.
So how has the balance, because earlier you said that you're a very live in the moment person, right? I am as well. And I feel like a lot of people really are, especially after COVID. It's taught you to be more appreciative of the moments. But in the same sense, COVID has also told you that those moments can still be very lucrative to you on the business aspect. So how have you been able to balance being able to live in the moment, but also be able to capture some of those moments when necessary to help build your business and your brand?
I think it is very necessary for me to lay out like why I'm going to some places. So like this NIL trip for the NIL summit, I was very much so like, okay, I'm going to create a lot of content today. Like as much content as I can, take as many videos as I can, as many pictures, but also enjoy your time with people. But no, I've also found like I'll go on vacation and I'm like, this is more for me. Like I'll take a couple videos, but like as far as like a full post, maybe not. I'm really just going to enjoy my vacation. I went to Scotland last summer and I did make a lot of content, but I also spent a lot of days where I just wasn't on my phone because you have to take some time for yourself and separate yourself or else you're just going to get caught up in the social media and life is just going to pass you by.
Exactly. Especially when you're traveling like that too.
Especially when you're traveling. When you're doing something fun, like enjoy it. Like, you know those people who go to concerts and the whole time they're just recording it on their phone. I'm like,
you didn't even see the concert.
Screen.
Like you saw
see the concert. Like record a little bit, okay, but when your favorite song comes on, man.
And one thing I've learned is, right, because sometimes some of those moments you still want to record, but it's like you want to live in the moment. So I've learned to just like record and then just look or glance over every now and then. But if the camera doesn't capture it, it is what it is. I captured it in my mind. I was able to see it in person rather than I look back at the memory. I was like, oh, I remember that. But I remember looking in my phone, looking at that. So that's still me wasn't really there.
The moments hit different. They hit different when you're really enjoying them versus like on your phone. Because I'll look at stuff, I'll be like, oh, haha, this was funny, da-da-da. But I'm like, oh, but that thing, that's what I remember. Like
exactly.
Yeah.
And normally that thing isn't what's on camera. It's something that's like
completely different.
You like something triggers the memory. We're like, oh yeah, I remember that. And man, that would have been good to get on camera. Stuff.
Or like, when you're sitting and talking with your friends, like, oh, remember that time, or like this, that, and that. That's the stuff you probably don't have on your phone. Like, it's very like you have a picture or something, but you'd be like, oh, I'm glad we didn't get that on camera, like something like that.
Exactly. So I want to open the floor to you to kind of ask any questions that you might have of me or things that I do. So do you have any questions or something that you want to bring to the table?
Yeah, I actually do. So I know you've been talking a lot with like some business people and things of that nature. As I said, I'm a baby entrepreneur. I have done some things. I've been a CEO for a couple years now, but I really feel like there's a lot more knowledge to learn. Are there any tidbits or something you can give to me in the business space?
Build a team and build a team with A players. Don't be afraid to let people go or give someone constructive criticism just because maybe you might have brought on a friend, right? And there's nothing wrong with bringing on a friend in your business if they have the passion, if they have the drive, right? Because it's always nice to build within your community. But you want to build a team who is passionate and driven about what like your core values and your mission is for what you have set. Because you can't teach passion. You can teach skill. You can teach somebody how to do a job. You can hire somebody who has never done that before, but they have the drive and the passion, and then they can get better, right? That, in my opinion, that's technically an A player, somebody who has a high passion. But you want to make sure you're building a successful team that's going to help you go far, right? Like I said earlier, it's who, not how. You want to make sure that no matter what you're doing, you're not only crafting a team, but you're crafting the proper systems as well. And sometimes you might not know how to create those systems, but if you find the right person, they can either already know how to do it or they can learn how to do it. And that can help you along the way, right? Think about it like this. Amazon didn't get to where it got to by just Jeff Bezos doing everything. Neither did Walmart. Neither did Rodecaster, who makes some of the podcast equipment that we're using, or Apple, right? So all of them have created a team somewhere along the line. And then they knew the right time to create the team, or at least they realized when they had a missed opportunity, oh, I probably should have hired somebody on my team to help do that. Another thing I would say is don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to actually, mess up on purpose, right? Because sometimes messing up on purpose, like you might not know the right answer, but you know the wrong answer. So just doing the wrong answer can still help lead you to the right answer later down the line, right? Because no matter what you do, you always want to look at the game tape, right? You always want to look at the film, even when you're doing podcasts, right? Like I'm going to look back at this, all the podcasts I do and look at, where I can be better on or where I messed up at, or, you know what I'm saying? So it's always about building a team, then making sure that you're building the right team and then finding the right people to help you kind of build out your dream. Did you have any more questions?
I do have one more. Where do you see the podcast and yourself going in the future? I mean, you're getting all this dope knowledge. Like, you have plans? What's going on?
So I do see this as being the #1 college athlete podcast when it comes to business, marketing, and branding. I guess this answer can actually kind of give you a little bit more advice. One thing I've realized in business is there is no successful business that did it quickly.
Oh, yeah.
In saying that, there's also a certain level of urgency you need to have in your business. There are things that you need to do quickly, but don't expect the overall goal and overall vision to happen quickly. So in doing so, right, like I see this podcast, like I said, being the #1 podcast for college athletes and up and coming college athletes when it comes to financial literacy, business, marketing, and branding. And then from there, right, like I eventually want to pass this off for someone else to do, right? Like somebody, preferably a college athlete or somebody who is passionate about this, to kind of help continue it on, to continue to teach. Although I don't necessarily watch this podcast a whole lot, I don't particularly care for some of the things. The No Jumper podcast, I don't know if you've heard of it, but basically there's a guy named Adam22. He started the podcast, but now he has other people host it for him. And that's kind of essentially later down the line what I want to get to when it gets to a stage to where it's impacting a lot of people. Now, obviously, I still want to do, some podcasts myself because I enjoy meeting people. But this is part of this podcast is also connected to my business, which is I help college athletes. I'm a business and marketing strategist for college athletes, right? So, because you know how NIL Summit was powered by Influencer as well, right? Similar to Influencer, but it's more so like a tender for NIL, right? So basically where college athletes can connect with business owners in a very simplistic way. And if they like each other, they can partner together. But not only that, there's another half to that company is it's still an education platform. So let's just say, you've done already very good in the NIL space, right? But let's just say by the end of your career, right, or even a year or two from now, you were able to learn a lot more, do a lot more. I could have you as a guest on a space. You can host your own class and things like that. So it's an educational space for college athletes to learn from professionals, to learn from other college athletes who have already essentially done that, to build their business and build their brand and just kind of succeed through NIL. So that's kind of where I see this going, but it has to start somewhere. So in creating content, right, because you have a very lively and energetic and bubbly personality, which is amazing. Have you ever thought about maybe starting a podcast of your own to kind of help athletes, especially maybe in the Ivy League space with NIL?
I have thought about starting a podcast. I think where I didn't do it was specifically just because I didn't have that much time to do a podcast. Mm-hmm. And then also, I am very much so just a record on your phone type of girl. Like, you have this beautiful setup going on here, and I just am not that tech fancy.
It started off with the phone.
Start off with the phone?
Yes.
Okay, so maybe I'll get into it. I have a show that's still in the works. It's called Soda Soul. So I'm planning on getting that bigger. Basically, I just sit down with different athletes and different people, and we talk about them. And I really find out who they are outside of their sport. And I customize them a shoe. So it's centered around me speaking to them and then customizing the shoe. Yeah, that's dope. Yeah, Soda Soul. I'm super excited about it once I really get it going.
So what's stopping you from getting that going for real?
It had a rocky start. I actually started it not too long ago, and it had a bit of a rocky start because, in my opinion, I don't think I partnered with the right people to start it out. As I said, sometimes you fail, but it really helped me understand like what I wanted this to be specifically, and now I know what I don't want it to be. And so I'm a little bit more cautious about what I'm doing with it because this is my brain baby and I'm so excited about it, but I really want it to be more focused on the athletes and who they are, and I don't want to take advantage of athletes and put out something that doesn't represent their narrative.
I like that.
So I'm gonna make sure it pops, and it's gonna pop.
I already know it is. I can already tell. So throughout this journey, right, when you said you didn't partner with the right people, what are some of the things that you didn't do properly in doing that maybe you can help the next college athlete that's watching this learn to do differently?
Sometimes it is hard to get to know people over socials. So again, I mean, I was doing a lot of stuff over COVID and things of that nature, but it is hard to get to know someone through email and even through a Zoom call. I would always say if you can see whoever you're working with in person, especially if like this is someone you're working with closely and you're partnering with them and they're taking part of the money, you're taking part of the money, you really got to see who they are. I'm all about working with people who are authentically them because I've been talking about authenticity this whole podcast, and I think that is very important for me. And if you're not giving that, then we're not going to click. And if we're not clicking, then I find it hard to work with you. And I don't like that negative energy because I like my workspace to be positive. And if you're giving me negative energy, I'm probably giving you a little bit of negative energy. It's just negative energy all around, and we don't want that. Transferable. It's transferable, and that's not the kind of environment you want to work in. And then it shows up in your content. So you make content with somebody you don't like, they're going to see that. Exactly. Because your other content is all fun, this, and you kind of got like a little side eye going on in this content. Like
people can even read energy through videos and whatnot.
You can read it now, and I just think that is something you shouldn't have. So always think about who you're working with and if their morals match up with your morals, because that is a big thing.
I like that. And to close it off, is there a final piece of advice that you can give any college athlete watching this, or maybe an up-and-coming college athlete in regards to, just navigating the NIL space and how to get more deals or be more successful with deals or negotiating or whatever the case is?
My biggest advice is don't be scared. Like, don't be scared to talk to someone. Don't be scared to reach out to a brand. I mean, yes, you might get some no's. Some people might completely ignore you altogether, but you never know where that's going to lead, as you talked about earlier. Like, sometimes all it takes is mentioning your name, because they might not say something like that week or the week after that, but all of a sudden they're sitting back and they're like, oh, who was that girl who came up to me and was like, oh, that's Gabby Anderson. Oh, maybe we should work with her. Or they start something completely new. Sometimes people leave one job and go to a whole different one, and they're like, I need her. This is the girl I need. And we didn't get her at the other place, but we need her here. And so I think that's really important. Just putting yourself out there, and don't be afraid. In my opinion, there's not much to fail in the NIL space right now. It's brand new. There's so many things still to be done.
You can be a quote unquote test dummy for one of the new things, but it can work out perfectly for you, right? So, and I want to add one tidbit onto that before we close out. I can't remember where I saw this from, but basically it helped me in networking with people. And I feel like this can, like you said, for one, reaching out to people, right? Just introduce yourself. But then sometimes people are afraid to follow up, right? They feel as if they might be bothering somebody. So one thing that I learned was it's called the Hot 50 list. And basically, you just you create a list of the 50 most influential people who can help in your brand, business, life, or whatever. And then
I've seen this.
Then every quarter, so once every 3 months, right? Once a season, you just kind of Send a message to them, just like, and it's not to ask them for anything or anything like that. It's just to kind of keep yourself on their radar so they know who you are. So like you said, maybe they go to a different company or whatever the case is. And even if you just say, hey, every season, like, oh, happy holidays, or like happy birthday, or I saw you were doing this, that makes you seem like more of a genuine person. Hopefully, if you're doing that, you are a genuine person to begin with, right? Because your true colors will always show. But that just shows people how genuine someone truly is, and it makes them think about you. Like I said, it's that know, like, trust factor. They knew of you. Now they starting to like you because they're like, this is just Gabby's a very nice person. She always texts me just to check up on me or just to say, hey. And then boom, I think of a business opportunity, and it's like, oh, wow, now I'm about to, think of Gabby to do it. So. But no, I appreciate you coming on, Gabby. It truly was. I wish we had more time because we could honestly continue talking about all of this more and more. Because
I can talk all day.
Exactly. But I truly appreciate you coming on. For the people who aren't familiar with you, can you just let them know where they can find you at on social media, websites, if they want to get in contact with you?
You can find me on all platforms at Gabby Anderson 04. And then I have a website called graffitibygabby.com. It's real easy, 2 F's in graffiti. Some people mess that up.
1 T. Thank you all so much. And look, I appreciate you all for tuning in to another episode of the Athletes Wisdom Podcast. If you haven't already, make sure you go ahead and follow Gabby, and make sure you like and subscribe to this video as well. And look, make sure you stay tuned because we have so much more amazing guests that's going to be coming on, and we'll see you next time. Let's go.